St. George, New Mexico, Sturgis.
Long ride.
They have that or they?
Oh
my gosh. Oh my. Yeah. Because I get to control the. Sure, I mean, I should move it.
Twice by chance.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't let him go.
I don't talk back.
It's because you scare me.
Yeah, whatever. She's scary. No, I really appreciated it.
Not a problem. Just tell the neighbors you have a lot of pull, so they better watch out.
Oh, no, sure. No, he left.
So we've got
Nothing like it.
how French people, right? Well.
Nothing
No,
yet.
I'm running into a 1 minute free. Dave, okay.
Here we go.
I really didn't, I didn't even look at that.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. So let's go.
That's the setup different, so it should be better.
We're live.
How was your road construction?
Great.
How do you get it?
It's not shut at our house, so I just go normal.
Yes, but beyond that.
They've put a temporary road.
Oh, they did, okay. I mean, I've just seen the detour signs going up the hill around.
Yeah. It's a lot. But that should only be for a couple more weeks. And then they'll divert it the other way. And then you'll have to take the detour.
And I think one of the big items that happened on that. On why they're putting 2 pipes. They only need one right now.
Right now,
They're putting the master
I
plan
think
is-
within 10 years, they're gonna need the second one.
And that's right. And so rather than go through all the shutdown and tear up.
Yeah,
Put 2 under there.
It's smarter to just do it.
That's what they put under the canal too. They put 2 under
we
the
should have made them
canal.
do 2 in our backyard.
Yeah,
Rod,
really, really,
why didn't we do that?
yeah.
Every one of those is custom. It's custom with they're actually gonna come back with. $81 million.
I know, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, we'd like to welcome everyone to South Weber City Council. It is 6 PM on Tuesday, May the 14th, 2024. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll have a prayer from Councilman Halverson. If you'll stand and follow me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Father in heaven, as we come before thee this evening, we're so very grateful for the beautiful weather we've had and for the opportunity we have to gather here as members of our community. We're thankful for our freedoms and our liberties and that allow us to do so. We're thankful for our firefighters, our military, our police, and all those who serve. We ask you to watch over and protect them, that they may be able to return home to their families in safety. We ask for thy spirit to be with us in this meeting, that we may be able to discuss the needs of our community and our city, that we will make the right choices, and that we will lead and guide the city and administer the funds in a proper manner. We love thee and we thank thee for all that we have, and we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Blair. Okay, we'll begin this evening with our public comments. If you have a comment, we would ask that you please be respectful. Each individual will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and the city from which you reside. And we'll begin with public comments.
Hello, my name is Trevor Skank. I live at 6455 Raymond Drive, right down by the soccer complex, and that's what I wish to address you council members today with. First of all, thank you, all of you, for taking time out of your busy lives and missing working in your yards on a beautiful day like this to come to this. To apprise some of you who don't know the issues with the soccer complex, I only have 3 minutes. Just the purpose of my comments up here is really, I would love to get a meeting where we could meet with the city manager, some council members, and discuss furthermore the issues that I'm going to address with you. So I live directly adjacent to the soccer complex playing fields. When it was first introduced to us, it was introduced as a practice facility only. And being such that criteria, there was nothing really taken into account for the noise that was going to project it. Now, the soccer facility has just undergone a change in ownership. Okay. I've spoken to one of the new owners, an amiable guy, and is willing to talk. But since the change in ownership, that facility is used constant now. Okay. It starts at 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays and Sundays, and it goes till dark. Starts during school right now, starts at 4 o'clock, and it'll go till 9 o'clock. Last night, they were off the field after 9 o'clock. They had 4 games going simultaneous. One of the issues is like the fire lane lights last night, packed with cars. Cars down on South Weaver Drive. It's that end of South Weaver, and it doesn't get enforced. My issues are mainly the sound. Their line is 50 feet away from my property line. The fans sit directly, I mean, they're just off of my fence. And yeah, the noise, the whistles in my house, you cannot escape the whistles. It's just constant. It's nonstop. The other big issues I'm having are balls on my property, out my field and in my personal yard. I bet I've had 800-900 balls since that complex is open. And out of that, I've had one person ask if they could come over and get their balls. Now, the new owner, I did talk to him. The day we spoke, I said, I'm going to give you permission to come over and get the balls, but you've got to text me and let me know you're coming over. And immediately had 2 texts say, I've got to come over and get a couple of the soccer balls. Then immediately that next day we had somebody driving into my field in their car looking for the soccer balls. And I went out there and addressed them, but this is beyond ridiculous. This spring, I've had a trailer stolen and equipment out of there, which I've lived down there for I don't know how many years, and never had an issue with that. Nor has any of my neighbors, to my knowledge. The traffic on 6650, that's probably the most dangerous road in South Weaver, I would imagine. Part of their stipulation when they went in that they were not going to use 6650. They guaranteed us, they promised us. The old owner, I remember him standing up here, he promised me not one ball would come on my property, not all these promises that were just dumped away. Right now, really what I'd like to do is see if we could get a time, and I know we can't have a dialogue here, but sit down. I mean, I'd love to see a moratorium on that east field until we get this figured out. At one point in time, we actually had a sound wall. That was what was going to pass, but we had some numbers come in that were astronomical, that weren't within the grasp of reality for being correct. And so that got pushed off the side. But I wish I could explain to you how annoying it is to be in my yard. We've got those very few, like you and your yards, you know, you don't get, it's very cherished time that you get back there. And then to not be able to hear anything, and you've got whistles, people screaming, yelling, something needs to be done. And I appreciate the effort that's been made in the past, but boy, we got to look at this again. And that being said, appreciate your time and thank you.
Thanks, Trevor.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Trevor.
it.
Paul Sturm, South Weaver City. Comments on agenda item 5, the budget package. Resolution 2414, tentative budget. From what I've read, there appears to be some confusing statements in the proposed South Weaver City budget package. On page 106 of the table, that shows a decrease in property values in 23 versus 22. That necessarily in itself with the certified tax rate would indicate that there would be a decrease in revenue to the city. On package page 113, the text shows a certified tax rate of 0.001330273 with a statement that this rate will be adopted in August of 24. That's a future date. Question, how does this compare with the present rate? Does this mean that the certified tax rate could or will increase? And down below, that's where it says that there will be a truth and taxation hearing in August 24. Number 3, one of the things that shows also a decrease is building permit revenue. Although it's not a lot, it impacts the bottom line of revenue. On package page 116 for budget summary, it states for 2024-2025, the city is proposing we hold the rate for property taxes. You can't do that when you have decreased valuations. All in all, there's somewhat confusing statements in this budget presentation. In the one statement on 116, the property rates will be held, and on page 113, the statement that truth and taxation hearing will be held in August of 24. Please explain. And I have a little aside comment. I'd like to congratulate whoever put the package together that they put the in the PDF files. They had indexing of the PDF files, so if you went to the table of contents, you could go directly to the section being discussed, rather than having to go through several hundred pages of PDF. And thank you for that.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move along with our consent agenda. We need the approval of April 9th minutes, April 23rd minutes, April check register, and March budget actual. Is there any discussion or any changes we need to make to the minutes on this consent agenda?
Arnott, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Seconded.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Next item, resolution 2414, adopt a tentative budget and set public hearing. Probably some discussion that we want here, so we'll open that up to the council for any discussion items they might have.
I don't have a lot of comments. I mean, we can discuss the property tax rate. We're still waiting for the county to tell us what they consider to be the current values for, or the estimated values for 2024 to be. And we may have to reanalyze that if they go down, but right now we're not anticipating that. Is that the correct assumption of how we discussed that?
I think so.
Typically, I've seen in a tentative budget, it's almost highlighted or with a question mark after it because we don't know what that rate's going to be. You know, you're adopting it, you're adopting with a question mark that whatever that rate's going to be, it will be defined and approved at either June or if we do a truth and taxation August meetings. That's the way I understood it.
Yeah.
Now, is it true that property values have gone down in 23 from 22?
The short answer is yes. Last year in 23, the property values did go down a little bit.
And we didn't.
We don't know what that will be this year.
And we didn't hold the rate. We held the value last year.
Right.
And that was when Lisa came into the presentation. That was last year, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Lisa from the county, Lisa Manning.
Okay. Other questions?
I just had a quick question on the sales tax revenue. In what year do we expect to get general RV sales tax revenue to show up? Because I know that there was an agreement to around that, but I can't remember the details there.
As soon as they're operating and selling, then it's a 2-month delay for us to receive sales tax. So
I
the
was thinking-
process is a business will, make their sales, they remit that to the state. It's a 2-month delay for the state to do their process and then give that to the city for point of sale and distribute it to the other cities based on population.
Okay, I guess I was under the impression that we were waiving or somehow using that specifically to pay for some of their improvements, or I can't remember the official.
No, the
agreement.
sales tax is unharmed.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's property tax.
Oh, property tax. Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's one question I had. Thank you.
Okay, other concerns? Other comments?
Oh, I was just going to applaud staff for the effort that they went through and presentation of the tentative budget. It was well thought out, well considered, and I just want to thank you for the level of effort you put into that.
Okay, agree.
Do we have a discussion on the Quint for the fire department?
No discussion whatsoever. See you later. I would like to.
If that's Joel's recommendation, let it be written.
Well, I'll say.
Really? Hear me?
Sure. Yeah, no, we had lots of great discussion on the safety committee. You guys each should have a letter that's in front of you and that was emailed out shortly before tonight's meeting. And I'm sure we'll have to put in the record, official record, right? Okay. So.
Which committee was this?
Public safety.
So after all the discussion, we came to the conclusion that the Pierce Quint would be our most fiscally responsible option to go with. Felt like the adjusted rates and quotes that we got back from between the engine and the Quint closed that gap significantly from the original estimations that we got. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we felt like the Quint was the superior option and provided the city with what we need. So that would be our official recommendation, is to go with the Pierce Quint and ordering that end of this year, and then keeping that 130,000 in the budget on an annual basis so that we can not only pay for this initial order, but to keep that cycle going in the future. That's really high level summary. Do you guys want any more details?
No.
I do feel like I do have to interject, though, that while the committee did agree on that, I was not in agreement. Not in the Quint, wholeheartedly support that. I believe that is what we need to have for the city to be able to protect it and what we need and how it's going to be the best profit for it. I do not necessarily agree that the decision for Pierce is being based on a correct estimate of what we're going to be what we're going to be having to pay for because of 2 years. The math we used and the forecasting we used was based on only one company, and that one company, we already know, came and told us that they were doing a massive pay hike or price hike. So they did their big price hike. We haven't heard that from any of the others. We haven't seen that from an industry leader or anything else. And on that, we are only applying, unless I read this differently, we are only applying that increased amount of percentage that this is supposed to go up to Rosenbauer. And we are not applying it to Pierce, because if you start off with both of them at their levels and you apply the same percentage to them, we would not have Rosenbauer change and Pierce suddenly being cheaper over those 2 years.
The difference is because you would order the Pierce now and it would lock in the price, it would not change. Where the Rosenbauer, we would wait 2 years and prices would change in those 2 years. So it's an estimate. It is a crystal ball, using the historical data we have of.
It's not historical data. Do not call it that. We have one company that did a massive price hike on it, and we know that. They came here, we saw that. So the only difference, and the big difference why it's even being brought up, is that with Rosenbauer, we would be able to wait 2 more years and spec out exactly what we're looking for and be able to do a comparison between the two of what the price is. I agree that right now it is better to lock in that price and get the Quint and order it based on what we are seeing in the prices of them go up. Pierce is the one that we are seeing go up. Rosenbauer hasn't, and I don't know that we have to assume that they're going to. But if it's my understanding correct on the papers, we see that it surpasses the price of Pierce in that 2 years. And we're not, there's nothing to base that on other than the
So
one pay hike.
can I ask you a question? Going
Yes.
back to one of your comments.
Yes.
So is your recommendation, forget about Pierce or Rosenbauer, to buy a Quint for 1.2 million?
Absolutely. And that surprises me. The main reason is because once we got the engine numbers back, so if we said we could get an engine or we could get a Quint, when the engine numbers, if they were $500,000 below, you know, $500,000, that's a big difference. We're looking on here, we're talking a couple $100,000 to be able to get the functionality of a Quint. And that is really what has moved the needle in that direction for me. One of the biggest things that happened to me was I ran into a Quint. It's kind of a squirt, but it's still a Quint. And was able to talk to some of the fire guys that were there, the fire department, and they 100% validated everything that Chief Tolman has been telling us, that we need it. It's not just a ladder truck, although that is a nice little feature of it, but the ability to be able to raise that hose, and you can jump in or just say Joel's way out at night, above the house, above the barn, above the hay, or if it's a wildfire, to be able to just drench that entire area from above as an aerial versus guys trying to shoot it, is the difference is night and day. And hearing that, seeing what they were all saying, and literal validation of everything Tolman had been saying beforehand, convinced me, okay, this is why we need that. This is what Tolman was talking about when he said we need to have the number of fire hydrants looked at, because this is how big the tank has to be based on that. We have a lot of old areas around this town, so we have to have that larger tank for the places that we don't have fire hydrants readily available within that distance. Just the life-saving feature alone of being able to put that hose 78 feet up in the air and douse an entire area before the firemen even have to go in there. That's a big deal to me. And of course, as we look at all of the 2-story buildings in here, being able to attack that fire both from above and below, really have changed it. Now, if the price difference was still, you know, $500,000, I don't know where I'd land on it. I know the functionality of the Quint, we need it, but with how much the city has right now and everything that we're spending on, I don't know if I'd have been willing to do it. Either way, I do know that where this is coming in at $950,000 and $965,000, and those are current bids from those companies. Throwing a couple $100,000 more into it to get over a 20-year period, a much more functional and better apparatus. That's where my mindset is right now. So,
and just to talk to Joel's numbers again, we were leaning towards the Rosenbauer because it was cheaper. But then we were under the impression that we would see at least an 8.6% rate rise in cost Joel wasn't on board with this, but.
Well, because I'm the one that told the number and it suddenly got turned into this is what we're using for it.
Yeah,
so-
so, but
That's where we
basically.
expect you to come.
I know, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. You believe me for once and now you're putting,
So so the assumption with those numbers is that if we wait the 2 years to order the Rosenbauer Quint, it would end up costing us more than if we purchase the Pierce Quint this year. If the council believes that the Quint is the way to go and it's just a determination of do we do the Rosenbauer or do we do the Pierce? I think it's a gamble. Do we think the price is gonna go down? Do we think it's gonna go up more than 8%? If we think it's gonna go up more than 8%, then I think ordering the Pierce this year makes more sense. If we think that there's no way the price is gonna go up that high over the next 2 years, then ordering the Rosenbauer in 2 years makes more sense. But
and I agree with that.
I'm not on the fence of, or I'm on the docket of, I think going with the Pierce makes more sense because there's too many unknowns that's gonna happen over the next 2 years.
And I agreed with that too. I think I don't roll the dice. I don't like to gamble. We know that prices are gonna go up. They have the Quint, this Rosenbauer Quint, from last year when we were looking at the price and to what they're giving us now, it's gone up 10%. Wasn't that the figure, Dave? Was 10% or a little more than 10%?
1.1 to 1.2.
Dave backed that off to 8.6 or 8.5 and that's where we would zero out. So it could be more. That's based on the 8%. I don't like to take that kind of a gamble. I think the sure thing is the way to go, and I was in favor of doing it this way. Yeah. So it's up to the council.
So Mary, are you also in favor of the Quint then?
I think with the difference, I am. With the first numbers that was coming out and we were $500,000-$600,000 difference, then
Mhm.
I would have to think serious about that, as close as they are. I think is the way we want to go.
There's a couple questions in my mind, if I might interject here. And I'm sorry if I'm, well, I'm not sorry, but there seems to be a process. And then the first question I'm hearing here is, do we do an engine or do we do a Quint? Okay, everything else aside. And the recommendation I'm hearing from the committee is Quint. Okay, now we're back on a budget. Now I'm hearing about, well, do we go with Rosenbauer or Pierce? I'm like, that's down the road. That's procurement. We just need to put enough money in this budget that we think is reasonable for the time we're going to put an order in, and then go through the proposal process, whatever we're going to go through, and let it fall out.
Yeah.
So I think the discussion here is, do we put in a budget of Quint? I'm thinking, yes. If it's 1.2 million or 130,000 for 4 years, whatever that number is, the only risk we're doing is we're obligating future councils for that money with this council. And it could change, but if we're putting an order in, we're obligating those monies.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing going on here.
Right.
Rosenbauer or Pierce, I think that's a decision down the road. So we're trying to make that decision right now to know how much money to
No,
put
I
in.
agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but
And we discussed that.
understanding that the down the road is this fall, we have to put the order in for the Quint, or 2 years from now, we have to put the order in for the
But we-
Rosenbauer.
But we still have to, it's the difference between 130 and 120,000.
Yeah.
So right now, if you're only ordering an engine, it drops it all the way back down to our $90,000 budget. That's the 120 to 130 doesn't make a difference to me, based on what Wayne's just saying.
Yeah. Agreed.
And so I mean, if we're going with a Quint and we all agree on that, then we just go with the 130 budget.
Yeah.
And
Oh, well, if
Yeah.
we're putting a 130 budget in this fiscal year's, if we're putting 130 in this fiscal year's budget, that tells me we're putting an order in this February. With either one, I don't care, but with either one, we're putting it in. But if we want to wait and see what the other prices are, then we don't even need to put it in this budget, other than we're trying to reserve some money for down the road.
But if we wait,
Yeah.
then you're locked into
I think
the one.
Okay,
Either
so
way,
if we
we've got to put it in.
put it in now, then figure out which ones. are
Right.
better. Right. Okay. That gives them those flexibility to do what they need to do going forward. Right.
Mhm.
All right, as long as I got direction, that's where I'm trying to get to.
Right.
Can I get clarification on the difference in prices between the Rosenbauer and the Pierce engine? Because one says current quote $950. Oh, never mind, I just answered it. Time value of money, never mind. Well, I have to be honest, I really, really don't like to go against the committee, but I am looking at the price right now between a Pierce engine and a Pierce Quint. And I just divided 965,773 divided in two, and that's 482,000. So if we add that back to that price to get a 50%, how much we're adding onto that, it's 1.45. So we're actually paying 50% more for our cost of an engine from Pierce to get a Quint. So it's hard for me to justify another $483,000. And I'm hearing your, tell me if I'm doing my math wrong, because I'm looking at the
Which one are you looking at?
Pierce engine and a Pierce Quint.
Okay.
And I appreciate the information about validation from other agencies, but my impression and my understanding based upon different discussions is there are not very many Quints in Davis County. And we are one of the smallest cities in Davis County. So it's hard for me to justify spending an extra $500,000 on one if we're one of the smallest ones. And there are several much larger cities that have a much larger tax base that don't have one.
Come up and address that, Darren.
And I know that they're not going to lend us theirs. I've heard that argument.
That's not what I was going to say. I was going to say every fire department in Davis County except for us has a Quint.
Safe to say that the decision between an engine or a Quint is still down the road. As long as we put enough money in the budget, if it's 130 this year, next year, and we decide to go an engine, okay, we've got more than enough money there. We can then reallocate the additional monies. But if we don't put enough in and we decide to go a Quint, now we're kind of shortfall.
Right, but they have to order in a couple months.
In which case they're going to have to bring that forward and we get another chance to approve that contract, right?
Right. So if this shows $130,000 is what we're budgeting, that's fine. I mean, I'm okay with putting that in the budget, but I just know how much we scrimp and save on every other thing, and it's really a hard thing for me to say spend 50% more.
What do you think, Blair?
Well, that's where Angie's made fun of me because I have flipped back and forth on this issue over and over because it is a big number.
You're not the only one.
And I mean, and this is an honest answer. What keeps flipping me back and forth? And I know Wayne we really need to put the 130 in the budget. But right now we're talking about not doing it. When we talk about safety, fire is not our only safety in the city.
Right.
Sidewalks, sewers, there's a lot of things that are safety in this city. Streets. We're putting a project off right now that provides a safer way for kids to get from the school to and from. And if a kid gets hit, because we put them on a little teeny road, I'm gonna feel just as guilty as if someone burns in a house because it was too high and they couldn't get up in the. So the decisions to me are the same.
Right.
It's not just related to the fire department. We've already kicked a $3 million project down the road because we can't afford it. Can we afford a Quint? Can we afford the 130 this year? We can, because we're going to do a hybrid. We're going to put some ARPA money in there. But can we afford that for the next 5 years? Can we afford that for the next 10 years? It's going to go up to 160 in a little while.
Well, in affording it, just like you said, we're kicking other projects down the road.
We are. I mean, there's between this and another purchase for this same department is kicking a few other projects down the road. And they are related to safety in my mind, no matter what that is, because that's what you're doing here. So.
I agree.
I do waffle back and forth. The 130 needs to be in the budget. If the committee, I don't know if there's other discussions to have with Rosenbauer to try to see about holding a price, whatever. The 1.2 is easier for me to swallow than 1.38 because that you might as well say 1.4. I know we can negotiate, take things out, but that's a full boat price. But so is the 1.2 right now. It's 200,000 more. That like Joel said, that is a lot easier to swallow when it's only that much more versus 50% more. I agree with you. When you said $500,000, well, I kept looking at it going, we're basically $500,000 more. So I'm fine with putting the 130 in the budget. And again, but I keep waffling back and forth on that. I wish I had a definite answer. If I needed to vote today, I'd vote. I'd make up my mind, but I don't have, right now I'm going to vote on putting the 130 in the budget.
And I think that's what we're trying to do today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Backup, this is just a tentative budget. We have between now and we adopt the final budget to amend. We want to.
Because by the time this is final, we're very close to that decision.
okay. Okay, any other decision there?
I just make a comment that with whatever motion it gets made tonight on a tentative budget, that it get made with a caveat that minor non-substantial changes within the presentation of the budget could be made in the tentative budget. For instance, my name is spelled wrong and I'd like to have it corrected.
I don't agree with that.
Anyway, that was just some motion, and Jamie, you can correct me if knowing my wording's wrong, but some sort of motion that we have that ability to make small edits. That would be appreciated.
I think and again, Jamie can step in, from a legal standpoint, what you're adopting tonight are the budget numbers. All of the information surrounding that, historical data and whatnot, spelling and grammatical errors, that's all part of the budget presentation. We submit that for the GFOA budget award. That's not due until 90 days after the final budget is adopted. And so all of that kind of non-material stuff absolutely can be edited as we go.
Thank you for that clarification. Just get my name right.
Not just now, but for the future.
I smiled when I said that, Mary.
Okay.
I do have two additional questions. One, I did send an email out on this. Out of our budgets over the last couple of years, we always come under budget in what we actually spend. Do we know how much, and are we trending any direction or another? What's been the amount? Are we literally just $10 away, or are we getting a lot more and it just gets put back into the general fund?
The short answer is that's all in our audited financial statements. We just have to go back and grab that. I did see your email. I just haven't had a chance to go get the specific numbers. So yes, there has always been a surplus. We are doing that. So the last 5 years, definitely yes. The amount varies year to year. It's not some trend up and down or whatnot. It's simply, did revenues come in higher than projected, or did expenses, were we tight enough and didn't have to spend them? So it creates a surplus year by year. Each budget year is its own.
Do you have an estimate of those that you could make?
I don't want to.
I'm just wondering, because you just actually said that there isn't any trend to it, which would mean that you would know what those amounts are.
No, I'd have to go look at the financial statement.
So we
to
don't
pull the
know if
exact
there's a
number.
trend, but
I know that it has been in the realm of 300,000 one year and 40,000 another year.
yeah.
But it's not a tidy trend. No, it's each year just kind of sporadic based
Okay.
on the year. But yes, we absolutely can get those numbers, and we can go back as far as you're interested.
I just wanted to know I think I put down in that email. Yeah, so, and then I didn't see specifically in here, what were the decisions on payroll?
It was 4%, 2% COLA with 2% merit, at a total of 4%.
Okay. And that merit is actually a merit. It's not just 4% to everybody. It's actually used as a merit, right?
Correct. So the methodology, as has been done in the past, is that whatever percentage is allocated for merit simply is a calculation to create an amount of money that is used for merit increases, but it's not automatic that everybody gets the same amount or anything like that. A COLA, everybody would get 2%. Employees across the board to, cost of living adjustment of their wage, try to keep up with inflation the best we can.
And that's
But
on page 117.
But the merit amount is just simply a bucket that leadership, staff leadership would be able to use to reward those that merit it, those employees that are above and beyond.
And do we have any restrictions that we use?
Like-
Employees hired within the past 4 weeks, those kind of things.
Within the last 6 months are
6 months,
ineligible.
okay.
Once they hit their 6 months, they would be eligible. Kind of you get out of that probation period and we would then look at it. But yeah, any employee that hasn't hit the 6-month mark or has been hired since January 1st would be ineligible until they hit 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion, comments?
I just wanted to verify, back to the fire discussion, in the budget right now is the hybrid, 259,000 of ARPA, 130 annually, correct? That's what's in there. Thank you.
Look for a motion then.
Wayne said he wanted to make a motion.
He had some caveat on there.
Search no place.
I don't know, as you run this meeting, no man? I move to approve resolution 24-14, adopt a tentative budget and set a public hearing for May 28th, 2024.
Seconded.
We have a motion and we have a second. We'll do a roll call vote, starting with Councilman Halverson.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
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 Okay, unanimous. Motion carries. Next item, ordinance 2024-06, moderate income housing amendment. Any discussion on this ordinance?
Quick discussion or just recap in planning commission, did I see? So the general plan where it talks about starting the general plan, we're actually not due till 2025, is that correct? And we left it as 2024 in this version. Thought they recommended to change that to 2025.
It should have been, yes, to start in January.
And we changed those to winter, spring, summer, is that,
Well, we did make those changes.
okay,
January 2020, in the draft plan, it's January 2025, begin the process.
okay,
Well, no, wait. December 2024 is update the general plan. And start the process.
Start the
there.
process.
And January would be as part of the kind of step of the general plan is assess the land uses, the city's needs, and then go in and say, all right, what are we gonna change and where are we gonna change it? And that'll start in 2020.
and that is in the bottom document, I just,
Yeah,
Okay.
that's in the draft.
that is. It is, I'm looking at it right now.
So my question is, and I just don't remember it as well. I don't remember that this was one of the ones that we chose where we'd be rezoning some of the land to make it. And I know this was before your time. This was when Trevor was here, but I thought that the ones we chose one or two and then we were still waiting on a third. Like I said, my memory's bad on it.
So I
anyone-
actually thought we did that and it was rejected,
Was
and it turned back from the state.
Yeah.
2 items.
And that was one of the items that we had, I think they told us we had to add that if I'm not mistaken. Cause it's not an item we wanted,
Yeah.
but,
I watched the council meeting in December where you all discussed it,
and decided on that
and
one.
that's where you decided.
Cause originally we
Yeah.
didn't, but it came back from the state and we had to modify it. I just couldn't remember what
Yeah.
the rest of the details were.
I thought we had shot that one down. That's why I was kind of wondering. I,
We had to replace IFRS.
yeah, I recall that.
right.
I just don't recall
That's right.
specifically 475. Was that done in planning commission in that meeting?
475.
Well,
It-
if you look at page. what
You
is it?
identified two areas in there, whether you or Trevor, but identified the two areas. One was 475 and the other one was
South Weaver Drive.
South
Yeah.
Weaver Drive
Yeah.
and somewhere.
Interchange. So it's on page 236 of the packet, line 93, 94.
It's on page 4
I
of,
just
it's
pulled
on,
language off the meeting from December. That was- And we can certainly
Well, I definitely, if we're talking about that, this was going to be July 2024, so 2 months from now, I think it's a long day. That we're gonna start looking at residential development around 475 and South Weaver Drive. 475, we've got a lot of that on it, and we don't have any commercial left except the 2 plots that we've just been talking about the last couple. And South Weaver Drive, I don't know of any part of that we were thinking, hey, we need to get rid of more commercial to make more residential along our main entry into town. So I don't know if that has to change there at the 475 South Weaver crossroads or interchange, it's called.
The only spot I can think of that, and they're not currently zoned that, they're currently zoned residential, but we have them across from General RV, they're tagged as future commercial. You could re-identify those as possible moderate income housing or something. I mean, I thought the same thing. I went down and actually looked, obviously, because that's by my house, so I couldn't think of anywhere else you would look, but that
I
would be
couldn't
the
either.
only
And
two.
my understanding was we were going to try to count the Paul property. I don't remember what that's called now, Gateway.
Yeah.
If that was something that we could use or not. But I'm with them. I can't see anything on 475.
I don't think those are gonna be cheap enough to qualify.
Well, relatively, none of it is.
I don't know that we get into the cost of whether it is or not. I think I don't know how I think we talked about it's just a study and we have to identify them, whether they actually work or it's up to
So it's
the
more of a
developer
study.
and all those guys coming to us of what the price is. I mean, we don't control that.
Because on here, we actually put in that we're gonna be rezoning. So if it's from the study, we look at potential places for rezone. I'm fine putting that in and changing that so that we're talking about doing a potential. I don't want to put anything into law that commits us that we have to start rezoning any area.
Don't we just say that it will be eligible to rezone? Because we can't just rezone someone's.
I think that's the issue is I understand it is all communities in Utah need to start identifying areas where they're gonna put the moderate income. Not just kind of, well, someday maybe actually take the step of rezoning, and that's why this language is what it is. They need us to take that next step.
So how do you take someone's piece of property who has a zone currently and we go rezone it?
During the process, it's certainly not an easy thing, but it would be initiated by the local government.
I would, on this council or anywhere else, fight until I'm arrested to not do that. And even then, really, you just learn card games. But no, it's not an option. So I'm just saying that I'm not gonna force anybody to rezone their land that they've been holding on as a commercial to residential. So,
I think it was just to identify.
yeah.
Well, and
I
that's
can
what I said.
understand that,
It doesn't say to rezone, does it? It says
Yeah.
eligible for rezone to create a new moderate income housing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the language under F,
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
that was off of the menu,
Right.
right? That's not our language.
Yeah, I
The
understand that.
implementation plan is where it's our language. So when it says to zone or rezone for higher density, that's the state language, that's the menu option. And if that is making the council uncomfortable with that item F, then we would need to look at the menu and say, which menu option do we really want? Because the implementation plan is simply how would we accomplish that menu option F? Which in the past has been said, let's look at that one. And so if it's the implementation plan that we're worried about, then sure, let's amend that and make sure the plan of how we're gonna attack item F is what we want. But if we're uncomfortable with item F, then we need to look at the menu again and make a different selection probably.
Well, and my only concern is that the way I understood was that not only do we have to choose, we have to report to the state how we're doing as we go along with it, and then report at the final what we've done. And where this specifically just says zone or rezone for higher density or moderate income residential development in commercial or mixed use zones near major transmit investment corridors. I mean, it goes on from there, but that's all it says. It doesn't say identify, it doesn't say think about it. It says you're gonna zone or rezone it.
Well, and we do say on the last one, January 25, begin the process of rezoning.
Yeah, yeah, these steps definitely
Yeah.
line out to.
Yeah, because if we're gonna do that one, that is what we have to do. I mean, it's not,
Maybe I should
not Lance just
abstain.
making it up.
No, then I abstain.
Well, I mean, I have open property on 475
I know.
Well,
and I would be definitely in conflict.
Do we have to identify a street? Because it's saying,
Jamie, come on now.
Well, first of all, on the question of whether you need to start abstaining or declaring conflicts or that kind of thing, we're not talking right now about any specific parcel of property. So I don't think that's necessary. You're talking about a plan. I do think Joel's read is a fair one, that the intent behind this is you establish the goal and then you move toward the goal, right? And what we've seen over the years is that they are tightening the screw from year to year on what you have to do and what your expectation is. There's a carrot and a stick with the legislation, right? So you stand to lose certain transportation dollars or priority for transportation dollars if you don't comply. But that's what this effort is about. If you don't like moving toward that goal, then I think you have to pick another goal and submit that and get that approved.
My understanding was that we picked I because that's what we wanted, but then the state said, sorry, you gotta pick something else. And this is what we ended up with because it was better than all the other crappy options that were out there. Unless
Again, I don't remember the
correctly.
specifics. I think that all of us probably are trying to pull back in our mind where we were at that point, but I think I was selected at one point, if I remember correctly, that was the
That's what I remember.
what's the word? The homes that can have individual units or something like that. And we, after our experience with an individual short-term rental that was trying to rent out specific rooms rather than as a whole unit, we thought that's not what we're trying to create. And so it was a reevaluation at that point. I don't think the state has said you can pick anything from this menu. And then they said, you need to show us an implementation plan of how you're going to do it. Because the first attempt was, yeah, we'll do these things. We picked these items, not just us as a city, but other cities as well. And the state came back and said, that's all well and good, but please give us some more meat on the bones. Tell us how you're going to accomplish those goals. And now the reporting process has evolved since this legislation went in place a few years ago, where we do have to be very specific on these are the action items that have been accomplished in the reporting window. And that's why the implementation plan is so important, is that becomes what we report on is those steps.
you're saying all that very nice and political.
You want me to say that I don't like this? I don't like it.
No, I'm saying I'm reading between the lines of what you're saying. It's very frustrating. I remember, I'm trying to pull up the list here because I remember we were talking about, I mean, Lance is absolutely correct. We decided F because the other ones didn't fit. But I really don't like that they're telling us we have to zone or rezone.
Well, if we pick F, then that's what we have to do.
When do we have to have this done by? I don't want to put this off. I just want to know what our deadline is. ASAP, right? Because we got our notice in December saying this doesn't work. Why?
I could have sworn it was July, but I could be wrong. don't.
It could be, and that's why we're doing it now, because we have,
So if we don't pick, or we don't approve this, we want to look at the other options, it still has to go back through planning commission again, correct?
Well,
Oh,
that's a question in my mind, and maybe Jamie would have to say that. Planning Commission made a recommendation, right? They went through the public process and public hearing and whatnot, made a recommendation. But as the council body, you can pivot from that recommendation. And if you want to look at the menu, I don't know if you have to remand that back to the planning.
No,
commission.
you don't. I agree with that. It doesn't,
Okay.
you don't you can go back to the planning commission if you wish to have their thoughts on a
different option. In other words, you could reject this, say we don't like this particular part that relates to the rezone. Please look at it again and give us your option B of where you would go. The other way you could handle it is you can pick your own from those choices and say you don't like this. It's already gone to the planning commission. You don't have to go back.
Okay.
You can reject their recommendation.
Clarification on the implementation plan schedule. Is that determined by legislation when we have to have this implemented? It says January of 2025 is the last step. Is there any saying it can be January of 2035, 2055?
There is a little bit to that. The requirement is a goal setting, not so much the implementation part, but what has happened over the last few years is there's been an iterative process between cities and the states. And the state has clearly had a directive to be really strict on reviewing these. And so I think my guess is well over half of the cities in the state had their initial submittal returned and they were instructed to do it over again. But you were setting these plans out in year increments. And so that's why I think you see January of 2025, because we're looking ahead from January 1 to the next calendar year. So it's your own goal, but they do have to be in 1 year chunks.
1 year chunks. Thank you.
Well, I
Do you want to look at it?
I don't know if we consider, do we want to,
I think we need to continue and then take a look.
is it a continuance?
Yeah.
I would move we continue this and not accept item F and come back with either send the council options or come back with a recommendation.
So question on that, would you be amenable to using F and looking specifically for something that would fill it?
Can you help me understand what you just said?
So if we have an area that is listed as commercial right now, and in the general plan or in around it, we would be thinking, okay, this is something that we could make a high density housing of a smaller area, one that either we've got people presenting on or asking on or anything like that. If we could find a location that would work for, not giving up the most cherry real estate, if you will, but a location that would fit that, because as far as I know, we also don't have any limits of how big or small it has to be, this area. I don't read any in it. So
It needs to be specific.
So I'm looking
yeah,
at the list right now. Plug your ears, Jamie. Number 11, or not 11, L, excuse me. Option L says reduce, waive, or eliminate impact fees related to moderate income housing, but it doesn't say how much. So is that potential? We could pick that.
I don't remember why we didn't pick that to begin with.
Because the rest of them are, I mean, I don't know if we want to go through the whole thing. I just hate to come back again in 2 months and then go, what was that again? The rest of them don't look like.
L seems pretty straightforward and easy.
Okay.
How would we manage that? We would identify buildings that would fall into this category and then we reduce their fee by whatever amount.
If they met these income requirements, that type of thing, I would think we would look at those aspects. And then say, if you're meeting these criteria for a moderate income housing, then you can have this reduction in your impact fees.
I like that one because we know builders aren't going to do any moderate housing, so.
Also, our impact fees this year have not been much.
Yeah,
So we're not
certainly
counting.
an option. Just in terms of process on that, I think if you pick that option, you can't then just turn like you would on your regular fee schedule and say, we're going to reduce it by this amount. impact fees require an impact fee facilities plan. And so you would have to go through the process of amending your facilities plan to have some math and engineering behind whatever figure you select as a reduction. If you don't do that, then you invite a lawsuit from developers that may want it to be reduced even more. But that's workable as a goal. And I think I've seen data in other cities that supports things like reduced water and sewer facility impact fees, because when you have moderate income housing or multifamily structures, it's not quite a 1-to-1 ratio on equivalent residential unit and what the sewer impact fees tend to be. So
you're saying there's
that-
some work there, but it's doable.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, hold on. Please stay there.
Yeah.
One more question. We are not charging impact fees for external accessory dwelling units, correct?
I think that's right.
I've been told that we can't or shouldn't. So option S is eliminate impact fees for any accessory dwelling unit that's not an internal accessory dwelling unit.
I thought we couldn't do that one because we didn't do it to begin with. So I think that was I could be remembering this wrong, but would that disqualify us from using that option if we already have something like that in play?
I think if you're gonna go through the hassle of redoing your impact fee facility plan, that doesn't happen for free or immediately, right? You'd have to have your city engineer prepare the work on that. And then there are some procedural requirements that you have to follow as you implement it. But I guess what I'm saying is, if you're going to do it, don't just limit it to this item. Update it all together. And then what you may find when you do that is there are certain things where you should be charging an impact fee and you're not. And then there are other things where it makes sense to do a reduction. And so you can do kind of an overall recalibration.
But we
Now,
just
I'm
did-
gonna stop at that point because I went to law school for a reason and math wasn't it. So you'll want to engage with your city engineer and get his input on that. But procedurally, I think if you're gonna open that box, you might as well look at more things than just one.
So that's interesting you said that, because I could have sworn that we were told that we couldn't. Maybe it's just because our code is currently written that way. Maybe that's
Well,
what it
and
was.
there is a restriction on the number of meters that you can require
Maybe
for
that's what-
certain ADUs, and I wonder if
Yeah.
that's what you're thinking of.
Because I think last time we looked at, I think Angie proposed it as well then. And the decision was you can't create a fee just to absolve the fee
Correct.
to match this.
I do think that's
Yeah, I
accurate.
think that's the one that,
Yeah. And there were cities early on when Airbnb first started becoming a thing, where they tried to discourage homes from having internal ADUs by requiring 2 utility meters for each residence within a structure. And that was eliminated with some of the recent legislation on ADUs. You can only have 1.
So if we do, I think it's S that you called out, Angie?
Yeah, S is eliminate impact fees for any accessory dwelling unit, not an internal accessory dwelling unit.
I think that one's where I don't think we would be able to use it because it doesn't currently exist. But what you're saying is on L, I think is the other one that you were calling out.
Reduce, waive, or eliminate impact fees related to moderate income housing is L.
So what you're saying is if we do that one and go through the process of coming up with the moderate income housing reduced fee, at the same time, we can rewrite our
Correct.
fee for EADUs.
Right.
So we could start charging impact fees on EADUs where right now we
If the
don't.
study supports it, yeah.
Got it. Okay. Do we know how much that study actually runs?
We just did one of those. We just did it.
We're in process of doing the water and sewer right now. So it would be a good time to say we could add that to an implementation plan before we finish off the capital facilities plan, followed by the impact fee facilities plan, then followed by the impact fee analysis. that's when we would be able to do that. But it is on the doorstep for two of our capital facilities
It-
plans right now.
It doesn't specify all impact fees.
That's correct. You could pick one.
I like L.
I like L.
L sounding good to me. It's definitely sounding better than F.
Blair?
Blair, what do you think?
I'm good with L. I mean, I still don't see why we can't take, I don't know. I know there was discussion about the ADUs, just waiving it. But I can't remember, and I can't remember the language that in there that says we can't use it as something that's existing.
You're right. I
Because we
know that
don't
either.
charge any fees for accessory dwelling units, and that's actually, we're almost word for word. Says eliminate fees for accessory dwelling units. I mean, is it in there anywhere in that language of that bill that says we can't use
Something that we already have. in
something that
place.
we already have in place?
I could have sworn there was.
Kind of the way Jamie.
There might be,
Yeah.
but I can't remember it.
The way Jamie had said it earlier about this has been a little bit of an iterative process with the state. I know some cities had tried to select items that they either were already doing or had
And they
accomplished
rejected
in the
them.
recent past, and the state said, thank you, but this is a plan for how to act in
I
the
think,
future.
I think we
Yeah.
tried that, you know.
And I have a few client cities that are in that box and have oodles of multifamily and middle income housing. And it was a real point of frustration with them that they had done the work that was being asked, but because they did it on their own initiative, they didn't get credit under this requirement.
Okay,
Let's go
then
with-
I would be okay with that.
Let's go with L.
Okay,
Would you like staff to take a stab at an implementation plan that then we could present to the council based on L?
Have other cities published theirs anywhere?
Yeah, they're all done.
So we could see a whole mess of examples of what L has done and then create an implementation from that. Is that what you're saying?
If the city selected L, we
Just-
have to find cities that selected L.
it says in the code that planning commission shall recommend to the legislative body the establishment of a 5-year timeline for implementing each of these strategies. So we have 5 years.
That's a great timeline. I like that.
Mhm.
We're what?
How many years are we into this stuff?
I think one.
Just
One.
If they're counting from the date that the legislation was enacted, right?
This was the 2023 legislative session, so just over.
So
But we could make a grandma request of the state entity that reviews these and ask for any submittal that includes item L. And take a look at what they provide. I think that's your quickest way to get that data.
that's a good call. Yeah, good call.
I found this on the Utah State Code website, the legislature website under the code that is referenced. It's on page 235 of the packet is the Utah Code 10-9A-403. So I mean, if we have a 5-year timeline, I don't know. I kind of like that.
You're pretty quiet, Wayne. Did you have any comments?
I'm just trying to catch up to all of you
Oh, okay.
and that you've been dealing with on the planning commission. You guys have had conversations last fall.
Yeah.
I don't have the whole list in front of me to know what the other options were. So I'm just trying to hear the conversation and trying to make the best decision. I like the idea of table this and having the staff come back with a more detailed implementation plan for L. So we have something to chew on. But
Sure.
right now, I'm not able to make a decision based upon the conversation, what's before
Sure.
me.
I think that's totally, that's
Absolutely.
fair. Yeah, absolutely. Just know the rest of them are pretty crappy.
Tell me how you really feel.
I will. I'll tell you, it makes me mad.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion on that?
Motion to table, ordinance 2024-06 moderate income housing amendment. And with the recommendation to go with L potentially. And staff to come back with the implementation plan.
Do we need a timeline on that tabling?
Tabling means that it's
Yeah, but
set aside until somebody picks it up.
so we need it. So let's continue that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll begin with a roll call vote from Councilman Windsor.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Next item, real estate purchase contract from the Mans, the Markhams, and the Crofts. Dave? You got
I don't have anything to
say?
state other than what's in the.
You moved over there and I
No,
thought maybe you were
I
gonna
was
have something
saying
to say.
something to Lance about our
Okay,
new task.
So the only thing that I saw on here
There wasn't-
specifically,
Go ahead.
sorry, page 240, this is just housekeeping, page 245 and 249 say Croft, and it should say Crofts with an S.
Okay. Lucas man here, we can fix that. And I was thinking instead of offering 10,000, maybe we just offer the million and because we love the fire department
There
and
you
get them
go.
that fire truck.
Oh.
There you go. Done.
Oh.
We don't have the money.
I second that.
Yeah, no kidding.
So let it be.
But we're ready to close. And I know David probably wants us out of his hair and just to be done with it, but our offer is 10. Do you accept?
Okay. All righty.
And I have no issues with it, how this is written. Sounds good to me.
anyone else?
A question, is this a warranty sale or is this a quick claim?
Yes, they're asking.
Yeah, we have the specialty warranty deeds prepared too. That'd be the second step. It's like if you sign for the real estate contract to accept it, then we can bring our checks and you guys can sign and notarize the specialty warranty deeds. And then we can go record them with the county.
Okay.
Okay. Somebody ready to make a
Mayor,
motion?
I make a motion, we approve the real estate purchase contract from the Mans, the Markhams, and the Crofts.
I'll second
Do
that.
we have we've got a second?
Joel got it.
Joel did? I did. It's my ball.
Begin with a roll call vote from Councilman Halverson.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, we mowed it though.
Oh, we're so lucky they even mowed it before we got it.
Okay, we need to suspend our council meeting and convene into our local building authority board meeting. Would
Mayor,
like to make a motion there?
I move to suspend the council meeting and convene a local building authority board meeting.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're now convened into our local building authority board meeting. Have a couple of items here that we need to take care of. First, we've got the consent agenda for December 12th, 2023 minutes. Any discussion or we'll look for a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve, which one is it?
December
Consent
12th.
agenda.
Yeah, I move to approve a consent agenda.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I did say aye, didn't I?
I don't know.
We know now.
I did now. Next item, LAB Resolution 24-01, adopting fiscal year 25 tentative budget and set public hearing. Any discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, we'll look for a motion.
Sorry, I did have one question since I wasn't here as part of the procurement of the bond. Can somebody help me understand the interest earnings seem to be less than the interest expense? I thought our PTIF account right now is earning 5.25. What was the interest we procured the bond for?
I just was really conservative on that. I saw that we're getting about 40 thousand a month, but as we spend the money, we'll obviously earn less, so I just kind of have to. Why are you laughing?
Don't worry about
Please
it. It's
continue.
okay. Go ahead.
The
'Cause you-
percent of the
is that-
bond
is that
was
because-
Just south of 5%. If the question is, what is our
So it's a
interest on the
push.
bond, it's just, yeah.
Yes,
So it's a push, but since we're paying down the bond, we have less revenue, which they're earning interest on over the course of this year.
yes.
Thank you. No more questions, Mayor.
Okay,
Mr. Board President, I move to approve. Wait, am I adopting?
we're approving resolution
Okay,
24.
okay, thank you. Sorry. Mr. Board Member President, whoever you are, move to approve LBA Resolution 24-01, adopt fiscal year 25 tentative budget and set public hearing for May 28th, 2024.
Second.
Motion and a second. We'll begin with a vote. Starting with Board Member Windsor.
Aye.
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 Okay. Motion carries. We'll look for a motion to adjourn this LBA meeting and go back to our council meeting.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
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 I didn't do a second.
I'll second.
Second.
Aye.
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 Okay. Reports, new business. David, you got any new business you need to discuss?
I do not.
Council committee meetings, members? Start with Councilman Windsor.
We haven't had a committee meeting since the last council opportunity, but we did have gravel liaison lead, I guess, whatever you want to call me. We had an opportunity to meet with the owners of the storage facilities down here on South Weaver Drive and met with one of the gravel pit companies to go over some of their concerns of late and try to understand what mitigation methods are happening. And they're just concerned of lost business, given the amount of dust that's gone in there, and there's new ownership. And I think it was a very productive meeting. We made introductions and a path forward to a better understanding what the future is going to be like. So just reporting on that, and would like to have a committee meeting called for the finance and admin meeting. If we can get one scheduled within the next 2 to 4 weeks. Staff have prepared some information that we'd like to go over on the reserve policies. And we want to dig through that a little bit more before bringing it before this council for discussion. So if we can get something set, Google Docs or something like that, and get us together within the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'd appreciate it. I think it's called a fund reserve program or policy. That's all I have there.
Okay, thank you. Jeremy.
Yeah, so a couple of dates on the Public Safety Committee. There was a discussion about more concerted effort to establish official OEM in the city for emergency management purposes. So I've asked staff to come back with a recommendation on how we can implement a structure around what that could look like for us, and possible responsible party to take on that outside of Chief Tolman and his most beloved passion for that topic. So, but I feel like fairly united that it shouldn't just land on his shoulders. We need another person besides David to take on that mantle. And so they're going to come back to us with their recommendation. So hopefully I'll have a good recommendation that we can bring forward to this council soon.
Jeremy, before you jump
Shoot.
off that topic, just an additional layer to that. Jamie has suggested that in order to make it so clear cut, according to the state law, who the city's emergency manager is, that we have the council actually do that in a city council meeting and essentially appoint somebody. So as we go through that process, that would be an end result for the council to make that definitive in a public meeting so that it's clear that we are following that state law.
Perfect.
Is there qualifications for that specific, like, does it have to be a specific person in city staff or in the city?
So that's not to my understanding, but Chief, you wanna comment? Yeah.
Remember, you may be nominating yourself.
No.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, my understanding is it doesn't have to be a specific person, but they do need to be trained properly. Right, exactly. So, the chief can correct me if I misspoke there, but I'm pretty sure that's kind of where we landed. And so the idea is that,
We were gonna look for somebody that's kind of in that area, in that
Exactly.
field, and then make a recommendation.
Sounds great. Thank you.
yep. And then moving over to county, our country fair days. We had our first meeting today. It was great. They seem to be well organized. This is my first time meeting the two ladies, so that was kind of nice. But there were a couple of to-do items that they asked me to bring to council, so I wanted to get those in front of you. One is they had a question on how to, if there were other ideas on how we can get newer people in the neighborhood aware of country fair days and all the different activities. We talked through what's already in the works, but they had a couple examples of them meeting newer people in the neighborhood, and they had no idea that the city was doing anything. So we were throwing out some ideas, but I wanted to throw it out there to see if you guys had any specific ideas on like, hey, I thought, or I've seen another city do this. And it was really effective, or someone on another city council that you've talked about something similar. So if you have any ideas, please let me know, and then I can take that back to the committee to see if there's opportunity for us to do something a little different this year. Other than that, the idea is to follow similar to last year. We're going to have an insert in the newsletter that goes out, or the newsletter that goes out quarterly. And we're going to have it on the social media. And then I think there will be an option, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's going to be emails, and then there's also some signs that we'll have access to put in various locations. So again, if you have unique ideas that maybe you don't think we've thought of yet, or that you've seen work really well, if you could let me know, and then we can discuss those in the committee. The second item I have is I've asked the committee to identify specific things that they need assistance with, so that I can bring that to this council to see if any of us are able and willing to fill specific responsibilities. What I told them is I think it would be more effective if they said, hey, here's the 15 slots that we need filled by somebody, instead of just saying, hey, I'm willing to do whatever. I think it's a little more effective to be very definitive on kind of how we can help, and especially if it requires us to lead an initiative or something like that.
I think we're very definitive that Joel wants to be in the dunk tank.
Better believe it. It is Mountain Dew, right? Right.
So expect me to come back to this council with what that list looks like, and then hopefully we can come together and support Country Fair Days in the way that we feel like we can be the most effective.
Go ahead.
No, I interrupted you.
I'm assuming they still want us to do the traditional things we've done in the past.
So that was my understanding as well. I think we'll see is once they give me that list, I think that'll clearly define what that looks like.
Okay, side note, but related, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marin. Okay. So we should all be, so typically in the past, we've helped serve dinner, and we've been in the parade. But we don't have any shirts that say who we are. And I think it's important because, like you said, there's new people that are here and they don't know, right? So we have $50, right? You can bring your own, you can order a shirt, get reimbursed for it, or they can put a logo on a shirt you own. But if we could have that done in the next 3 weeks for reimbursement purposes, right? Yeah. So we can
am I
have that
hearing that
done.
you're gonna take the lead on that effort and get us all shirts?
No, you can buy a shirt.
Oh.
Ask Cinnamon to buy you a shirt, and then they will put it
We don't
on.
want to buy all the same shirts.
I think we should all have the same shirt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
If it comes in a woman's cut, you betcha.
well, you can get a woman's cut with the same color.
So you're gonna order them?
Nope.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, would you like Shaylee to design something
Oh, yeah.
specifically for you guys?
There you go.
Let's do it.
Look at it.
And you can assign each one of us a Seven Dwarfs name.
And she pointed me.
I thought it was bashful. Walk through that one.
Nice, nice. Are you okay with that, Shaylee?
Yeah.
If you want to trust her creativity juices, then we can move forward. If you have suggestions, send those to her ASAP.
Something very simple.
Sure.
Not black.
The old shirts used to just have our logo and say council member. Just saying.
Okay,
So Angie is a great person to.
yeah,
talk with.
I'll be the
Yeah.
liaison.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, thank you. That was my question on that.
That's all I have. there.
Joe?
The only one that's been able to meet so far, that hasn't been dealing with budget is the Parks Committee. And probably the biggest news out of that is that we do have the bike pump track has been finished. It looks good. There's no weeds. There's these hills and jumps and curves and all kinds of things for bicycle enthusiasts to enjoy a little bit of a thrill ride. We are going to be officially opening that on the 18th. So this weekend. Do we know the time? I didn't write it down. I'm sorry. 10?
Yes, the grand opening starts at 10 a.m. and there will be an official ribbon cutting. So as many council members as possible for that, that would be awesome. But
So we would love to have all of you attend. And of course, the public is more than welcome. But yeah, it's a project that has been being worked on for what seems like a long time, but really this has come together really quickly and we've been able to finalize it and get it done. So.
Didn't we also meet with the train club?
Yes, we met with the train club and went over some of the requirements again that are in the contract. There was an issue that we had with the weeding. Unfortunately, it has not been as well kept as last year. And when talking to them, the main reasons were, of course, the weather, the temperature, and all of that. So we let them know what needs to be done, and they've already started getting that together so that they can. They also are going to be working on one corner of the track to be able to take care of it with their spray car. It is a car that sprays the chemical to be able to keep away the weeds. We also talked briefly over the plans for this year, including putting in a lift to be able to take the train cars out of a truck and put them directly onto the track over there and to clean up that area over there. So it's going to be a nice formal train. There you go, receiving area. So that's where we're at. Anything else I missed?
Did a great job.
Okay.
Angie.
We had a meeting for our events committee. So Jeremy, anything that Country Fair Days needs that is pertinent to the events committee, make sure we bring that up so we can send that out. We're having our first concert in the park in 2 weeks on the 30th, correct? And remind me who's coming. I don't remember the band name.
Hit and Miss Duets.
Cover band. Okay, and we're starting at 6:30?
6 o'clock. So it starts at 6 o'clock at Central Park, Hit and Miss Duets, and then there will be 2 food trucks there as well.
Okay. May 30th.
May 30th. Yeah.
So that should be fun. That's all I have to report.
Blair.
That's all you have to report?
Yeah.
I'm
not sure.
Municipal Utilities is met every Wednesday, go over the public works. And I actually missed the last brief meeting. But we have completed plans that are going out. They have some of it out for bid now. I think it all is going out for bid after tomorrow, unless you know anything different. So we're hoping within 2 weeks to have final pricing.
Cross our fingers.
What's that? For the public works. Did I miss something?
I was just trying to remember what our timeline was. We were trying to get it for the June.
Yeah, we gave
Four.
them, I think it's for the first June
Yeah, June
city council
4th.
meeting to come back to
I
us.
believe.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should have
Yes, so we should have it. Yeah.
price tag on 11. Right. Okay. Anything else, Blair?
Nope.
Anyone else? If not, we'll look for. a
I
motion.
got,
What?
I had some, I had a new business item, but I think Dave had something to report on.
I do have a couple of items to
Okay.
report. This has been a long time coming, but Mark Larson and I were able to do a little field trip with a representative from Connext today. And we went to all of the city facilities and locations of where we're gonna put fiber into city facilities and parks and detention basins with sprinkler timers and all kinds of things. So there's over 30 locations that are city facilities that we went and looked at. So the priority that we told them would be the buildings, the facilities that we have, and then in parks that have restrooms where we are wanting to put security cameras. And then after that, they would do some of the other places that would be sprinkler timers and whatnot, so we could get smart sprinkler clocks and things. So that is now progressing. Again, it's been a long time coming, but we should see movement and the city going live with Connex very shortly. Also, the mayor and I were able to meet this week with a representative from Robinson Waste on the recycling program and what options they may or may not be able to present for us. We also are trying to reach out and speak with ACE because they already provide recycling in the city for those that are opting in or subscribing to that service. So those are the two companies we're trying to speak with that are already in the city providing sanitation services.
So regarding that, I know, and I'd only thought about it because I put my recycle can out yesterday, which the rest of you should be doing. But just saying, but no, is it mandatory or part of the requirement? So right now they currently only pick up every other week. They don't pick up every week.
Right.
Is that something we can look at as part of that with Robinson?
Robinson
I mean,
will do the same.
Do the same? Because there's, I mean, there's a lot, some of my neighbors would need it every week,
Yeah.
but I mean, it may be less expensive, maybe easier for us all to handle. So we hadn't talked about whether it was, we had to do it every week or we had to do it every other week.
Yeah.
All the programs that I've seen.
All the
are every
programs
other.
that are out there.
Are every
and that
other.
Robinson is working is every other week.
Is every other.
We
Okay,
asked him that. yeah.
okay.
We could ask the question of.
But
if
we
they
could
do
ask
it
them
weekly.
Well, I didn't
What
know
the
if we were
charge cost
looking
would
at
be.
every week originally.
Weekly.
We never really specified whether
Right.
what we were looking at.
No,
Okay, or I missed that in that conversation.
no, we
too.
didn't.
From a procurement standpoint, I think it's important to note that our agreement with Robinson Waste, we just extended last year, so we still have, a few years on that contract. I think the goal would be to only have one sanitation service provider in the city moving forward. Right now we have two, right, with Ace and Robinson, but they both deserve the opportunity and contractually deserve the opportunity to compete for that. So rather than publishing a full-blown RFP, there would only be one other provider that would really be interested in that based on which providers are in Davis County, and that would be Waste Management. The thinking was we would talk to both Robinson and Ace and essentially get bids from both of them. They would not know each other's bids or anything like that, share no information. But once we have that, then we would bring both bids to the council. We would not want to make anything public so the other would undercut or whatnot. Just following standard kind of procurement policy so that it would be, it'd be available. Normally, we would do kind of a full scale RFP. if the council feels strongly about that, we absolutely could, have that conversation, but
Why would we eliminate competition? If you got three potential bidders out there, why would we?
I think in a
Exclude them.
few years, we probably would want to, when our contract with Robinson ends. But we have a period of time right now, and if we're doing recycling only for this period of time and a separate contract from Robinson and the garbage services, maybe we could do that, but we've got two companies that are already within our city boundaries and one that is not. It's just a decision up to the council of how you'd like to proceed.
I'm struggling with that because I understand what you're saying. We have 2 more years on these contracts and then we can open it up to everybody, but those contracts have a termination clause in it, I'm pretty certain. We can give them 90 days or 60 days, or we can terminate after we've gone out and open it up for all the services. So I want to make sure there's not a complaint that comes back that says, hey, I can provide that service, but you didn't give me the opportunity to bid or make a proposal. That's my only concern. Granted, you got 2 people in town, but anyway, that's just my feedback.
What's the feeling or the direction there?
What would you guys like to see?
Well, I agree with Wayne on that. I mean, it doesn't cost us, it doesn't hurt us to include, enough bid on it to get everybody's representation of what they're going to be able to pay, or not pay, but they would offer us. So, yeah, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't. So.
Is there something in the process of doing an RFP where prices are more inflated than if we don't do an RFP?
Not necessarily.
And the concern that you're bringing up now is that is it if we add like a third vendor as like worst case scenario, does that complicate things in the city somehow?
No, not at all. I don't have a concern with going the RFP route at all. We already have 2 that we are working with, and we would be able to have comparative pricing by asking both of them. We'd essentially be going through an RFP process by asking both of them for bids. And so the question is, do we want to go through the official steps of making that, available to all, so to speak? Or because we already have 2 that are here, we could get quotes.
Do we have a contract with Ace?
I'd have to look into that.
I don't think.
I don't think it's a
No,
contract because they bill it separately. I
Yeah,
didn't
we
think it
don't have
was.
anything with Ace. It's just Robinson.
I would suggest going to all 3 options.
I'm okay with that.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll do that. Anything else, Dave?
Nope. That's all for me.
Wayne, did you have one item?
Yeah, I want to go back to the public comment made earlier today by Mr. Trevor Skank and ask the council, how do we want to follow up on that? Do we want to have any volunteers that want to get together and represent the city with the owners? I know by me speaking up, I'm going to get nominated by Angie because she's looking right at me, but that's okay. I just think this has been a longstanding item. This is something that's been in front of this council for 5-6 years, having some history there. And the fact that he came forward, I think we owe that public comment a follow up. And I just want to know how the council felt that we should follow up.
Eric, you got a comment?
I just stepped out and talked to him, just so you're all aware, after his comment, and let him know as far as the fire code issues that he mentioned, me and Cole will be handling those. So I just wanted to let you know that I've already addressed that with him, and we'll work on that on our end.
So is he saying they're parking where we've got no parking signs?
That's what he made it sound
Like behind the
Oh, they're
building,
just
all of that.
Yeah, and the fire lane around the building, which it's been made clear to them multiple times that there's to be no parking on that access road. So me and Cole can work on that on our end. As far as the noise and other stuff, obviously that's not our realm, but we'll do what we can on our end to address the fire code issues.
I'd like to maybe have an internal conversation. I mean, staff, attorneys, staff or whatever. What are options? We got a conditional permit out there for their use. Can we bring that back up? Can we amend that? Do we have costs to doing that before we enter into a negotiation to see where they're at? I hate to go heavy handed right off the bat, but I'd like to know what are our options as a city if nothing changes.
That's what we should look at. Yeah. We can review that conditional use.
I think Jamie should speak to the legalities of property rights associated with conditional use permits.
I like that as a first initial step that we do and have an internal conversation about the conditional use permit. That is a property right that the soccer complex holds. And I know there can be friction among neighbors when you have uses that abut each other that aren't the same. And that friction exists here clearly with the complaint that he's made, but any decision the city takes to reopen things or that, and I think this is what Wayne's asking, is look at the whole picture, understand what the options are, and then go from there. But I did pull the CUP up while he was offering his comment, just to refresh my recollection of what was in there. It does have some limits in terms of time and parking and access and things like that, where you could look at whether they're complying, but we probably ought to have a full conversation about that.
If the council, to Wayne's point, determines who would spearhead that, I'm happy to coordinate with Trevor, or just set up a meeting internally first and then coordinate with Trevor to find time to make that discussion happen as he requested.
Who would like to join me?
I'll join you.
I'll join you.
Trevor who?
Skanks.
Trevor.
Oh, okay.
Trevor Skate.
I thought you were saying you were meeting with, so immediately I thought Trevor, so never mind. Uh-huh. I'm like going, you can't meet with him. He's no in
We
Clearfield.
you just can't get Trevor. out
Yeah,
of
he
your
won't,
mind,
he won't, no, he won't. That imposing figure. Separation anxiety.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Okay, so. Dave,
Got it.
3 names, okay.
And with that, I move to adjourn.
Okay, we'll adjourn and make a motion to move into closed session.
So moved.
All in favor, say.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.